time. Um, so I want to say thank you. Thank you so very much for sharing that information. That is very priceless, priceless. And if we really take hold to it, it will help us to be a better person. As the one lady's out and helping others, it creates a better community.
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you hear me now?
Much
Is
better.
this okay? Much better. So yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Glenn. This really was eye opening. I love that they had different perspectives because I mean that's what makes us unique. And I like how it all tied to more of a positive place towards the end. Because, one point that they were making is kind of comparing it to, what our ancestors did or our parents and their parents' parents. And I like to do that comparison. But as far as, to use that comparison for motivation and for doing things different. But we also can't lose sight that, a lot of the batons that were passed down are also skills that, sometimes don't work, to help with generational wealth today. So, the one lady had said something about, how did they do it as a housekeeper and they, put 5 kids through school and that sort of thing. Well, maybe tuition wasn't that much. And nowadays, I don't know that if you don't own the service, the janitorial service and make a business out of it, that's a lot of things that I feel is different from when my parents and their parents were younger, or back in the day, not younger, but during their generation. A lot of people own businesses, and we've gotten away from that. So that's why ownership is important, and I love how they stress that, and then controlling the debt, because back in the day, you know my grandparents, I can remember my grandfather, they paid for things. They were not about to stay in debt for long periods of time. So, times have changed and we have to adapt to what the generation is as of today.
Hmm.
So I just love the movie, and it really was eye opening. So I appreciate you letting us see this. This was nice.
Because one of the things that I realized was the transferable aspect of it, where even though they mention things that are no longer relevant in terms of our career type industry, the whole aspect of saving for a rainy day, putting aside
Mhm.
money for a rainy
Yes.
day, putting aside money in case of what the world gonna happen. You never know. Hey, look what happened. COVID-19. The whole world is shaking because no one was prepared for anything of this magnitude.
Right.
And that's just the basic principle of this whole thing. Get right or get left in some aspects, you know.
And you know what? If I may, Glenn, one of the things you touched on, and the other viewer, years ago, our forefathers paid for necessities. Uh, Today, the lifestyle is luxury.
Hmm.
And then credit was not available to them, and
Hmm.
it's understanding the whole purpose of credit and these credit cards. I think we have to adjust to necessities at the same time, put limits, and learn about budgeting, because like you said, 2020 along came COVID and everybody went into shock. They were polarized
Yeah,
because it was something that we weren't expected.
yeah,
So it's a matter. I think this is going to help us to, this situation, to review and adjust and live in a different mindset and a lifestyle.
exactly.
Yeah.
Something that bothers me about this, whole concept is that it just seems like, and Kimyana kind of hit on this a little. It seems like, you know, some of us catch on fire and the other ones don't. And like there's such a great level of responsibility on each one of us to bring other people along with us. And I just find that to be very difficult because people bloom at their own pace. And so when the movie suggests that we invest in businesses that is in our community, or we, that we, start an investment group at our local church, or, all of this collaborative stuff, it sounds good in theory. But the truth of the matter is that it's oftentimes hard to find like-minded people that want to move in that direction and that can follow a leader and not want to be a leader. It seems to be very difficult, and I think that that's the one of the main components of why we are consistently lagging behind, because we don't see that kind of behavior in other communities. When you tell somebody to buy black, the first thing that comes to mind is poor customer service, and I find that such an indictment on us as a people. But I'm still trying to get my mind around, how do we find like-minded people who want to do the same things and can follow a very strict plan and path to be able to get us there.
That's a very good one.
All right, so there.
Glenn, I wanted
Go
to say
ahead.
something. Here's the thing. So if you want to try to compare what happened, back in the day with our parents and the other generation, it was kind of forced, because you think about, when we went through segregation, right? We were all we had. So yeah, you might want to go shop at the other culture stores, but that wasn't available. So if all your choices were within your community, that's what's happened to us. We've gotten away from that because we've so many choices now, and then we are also capitalized on, because they figured out what our black dollars buy.
A lot.
So yeah, so before it was community, so it was easy to say let's keep it in a community. When you went to buy eggs, you went to within your community and bought the eggs. Now we have eggs from wherever. So I say that to say that we've gotten away from that, and that was forced. We had to buy from our own people because that's all we had. And at one point that's the only stores we could go in. Now it's different.
So here's a question then, because someone brought this up to me a few days ago about the Jewish community, where they support Walmart, Publix, but they tend to be Jewish oriented. Jewish lawyer works with a Jewish doctor, Jewish this, and they form their own internal smaller community. May not be the grand scale that the old Black Wall Street had, but if we came back to a place of recognizing that we need to reinvest and plug back into the black dollar, not saying that we shouldn't support anyone else, because this world right now is black and white. I don't see black or white. I just see man, woman, child, any race, whatever. But if we want to be in a place like the Jewish population, how they're doing things, because they are also considered an oppressed people. They went through something horrific, the Holocaust, which is they claim is some level of what the African Americans or blacks went through in terms of slavery. So then they're saying, why is it that are not doing a similar path in terms of reinvesting back in ourselves, or plugging back into black-owned businesses or minority-based businesses? Even though we still support the Publix and the Walmart, we can still support. I remember Kamiana gave an example of this. She's having a major business launch, hopefully soon, and she's actually buying everything she has is minority black based. She bought some new outfits, they are black based. She bought some new jewelry, black based. The music she's using for her event, a black artist. She's trying to pull her resources and her money back into the community, and that's actually a good idea what she's doing.
Very good.
Excellent idea.
The Jewish community is doing it, so why are we not trying something similar?
And if I may, Glenn, I had the experience with my mom years ago when she was a housekeeper, worked for a Jewish family.
Mm-hmm.
And the upbringing and that household, I was able to be there, not as a housekeeper, but that the woman of the house, she invested time, she invested information. She actually paid for me to go to modeling school, and I saw them. They had their own schools, they had their own tradition. And I think one of the things that we as a community, we have gotten away from our, um, some people say, oh, that was back then. But if,
Yes.
your history is a part of who you are. No one just came out of this, out of nowhere. So one of the things Jewish community does, like you say, they partner with each other. I had the opportunity of babysitting for doctors, lawyers, this one, that one. And I saw how they, as a community, they bonded together. Not saying they always got along, but what was important was to structure that financial power,
Mhm.
you know. So, and I think that's one of the things you know, um, we have to do. Everyone is not going to have that mindset, but for those who do, you partner with those people, as you were saying, the young lady who's doing a launch. You have to be an entrepreneur. You've got to be a visionary,
Very much so.
and yeah. So that's one of the things I feel like we as a community, you know, I think we have to, just come together, be able to talk and to have ideas and put those ideas together. And if they don't work, well, then you reinvent, because that's what an entrepreneur is trying something and never giving up, you know.
And another factor too could be said this. If our generation doesn't want to change, start with the next one.
Exactly. Exactly.
Start training our children, our
Exactly.
grandchildren to have a mindset
Hmm.
change. Because I remember even today I had a discussion with someone, a business owner. He's a CEO of a major corporation, and he said one thing he has to do was have a entrepreneurial mindset change, where his mindset changed from his parents told him go to school, get a job, and be a good worker. When he said that, it
Hmm.
had a flashback of me thinking about when I came from the Caribbean, hearing of the slavery stories about being a good worker, good slave. And it
Hmm.
sounded like a plantation, a modern day plantation, where you're told to go and be a good worker. Yes, be a good employee, yeah, but at the end of the day, they're controlling how you eat, what you eat, where you
Hmm.
live, where you're allowed to live, and how fast you can grow. If you be wealthy, poor, or just middle class, they're controlling that, which is somewhat, I wouldn't go further than that. I see we have Miss Judy in the house. She's one of our sponsors this year, gold sponsors, and also a financial guru. Her nickname
Hello,
is the
Glenn.
Money Girl,
Oh, look at my picture, the numbers girl.
Numbers Girl. Hey, numbers money.
Hi. Hi. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but I did catch most of it. And I can't speak too long, but I do want to touch upon some points. I heard everyone,
Hmm.
speaking just now, their various views and various points.
Hmm.
Um, but the thing that really stood out for me, like I want to speak on, is credit.
Hmm.
Um, we do have this mindset of, someone said, the luxury life, right? So
Hmm.
in order to, if you don't have the money to have the luxurious life, you use debt to do that, right?
Correct.
Um, and it's amazing how many people are so brainwashed that instead of generating their own money and using that money to, multiply their money, they rather improve their credit score to just get more and more and more into debt. And the reason why that really just stuck out for me is because recently, um, I just had a baby, and at the hospital, for the hospital bill, when they called for me to pay my 20% of my insurance, co-insurance payment, right? Um, I won't tell you guys the exact dollar amount, but I had the money, in my savings account. So when they called me how much it was, I was able to transfer the money from my savings to my checking and use my debit card to pay the bill. all, in one lump sum. And the woman on the phone was so surprised. She said, "Wait a minute, you're using your debit card?" I said, "Yes." She's like, "Oh, you don't want to." She was very surprised that I was just paying it, cash, pretty much, right? That's cash, liquid. Um, she said, "Oh, because most people, will pay that with a credit card." And I go, "Well, no, I have the cash, so I just want to pay it with the cash." And she goes, "Oh, because some people like to use their credit card, for the cash back or for points." And I laughed in my head. I'm laughing now to you guys, but in my head, I laughed because I was like, those who don't know or those who don't have it, they would happily use a credit card with a 29% APR to get a 1% cash back for this transaction. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't help if you're going to use the credit card and then not pay the balance, because then that whole 1%, 3% bonus points, whatever it is that you may get from using this credit card, it's gone down the drain anyway. So I said, well, even if I did want that, I purposely, and this is something that I do for me, I purposely do not have any credit cards with that high enough, with that credit limit that high. And I purposely do that, even though I can get pre-approved for more, approved for a lot more. I purposely gave myself my own limits of, because again, if you have an emergency situation, cash is sometimes king.
Exactly.
And if cash is not available, I would like to have that available balance on my credit cards, right?
Right.
And there shouldn't be anything so, I'm hoping it's something so traumatic that would require, I don't know, a $30,000 credit card limit. You know what I'm saying? So I just laughed because she was really trying to get me to use a credit card. And I'm like, but I don't need to. I'm fortunate. I worked hard in a good way, right? Building,
Work
work
hard and
hard, work
smart.
smart, and it's not necessary. And a lot of people, unfortunately, will fall into that trap. You got a good credit score. Let me just get credit. Let me get more and more into debt. And then they're just piling it on. Then they've met their wit's end and they're over their head. Another point towards credit. And again, I'm not bashing any, credit repair agencies, agents, they're there, they serve certain people need them. But I know someone who barely has any debt. Their credit report is just, unfortunately, student loans, education thing really, whoo. I don't want to go into the education talk because I can go on forever about the education stuff, from the video, the generation one, and going into debt for school and coming out not necessarily making, what you invested in, the same amount that you invested in it. But there's one person who has just like one student loan. And then the reason why their credit is bad is because they have outstanding hospital bills. And the hospital bills are not grand. It's like a few $100, $300, $400. Now, instead of the person paying the collection, she wanted to actually pay these credit repair agencies because they said they'll just remove it off of their report. And I go, well, no, that's not how it works. Because if it's really your debt, it's really truly yours, and it's correct, it doesn't necessarily mean they can remove it. And you're going to pay this company, I don't know, the prices vary, right? Let's say as low as $35 a month to $200, $300 a month for them to do this for you every month. You're paying, I don't know what, 2, 3 or 4 months of it, when you could have just used that same money to just pay the collection to begin with. So people's priorities are out of whack. And if it's not a priority issue, it's they lack the education, they lack the knowledge. And what I'm here for and what my business is here for is to educate as well as Glenn and everyone else who's here speaking and sponsoring and exhibiting here at the Legacy Conference. So we're here to impart that knowledge. And I just hope as many people can attend these things like this, and gain this knowledge. Not only gain the knowledge, but practice it and practice it. Not do it once. Don't try it and quit. Practice. Keep going. Keep using whatever method until you get to where you need to be. So I just wanted to touch on credit real quick, especially since I had a fresh story
Yes,
about it.
yes. Um, Lawanda posted, "You go, girl," Judy, and then she said the story behind of it. You get points and they get interest.
Mm-hmm.
So which is better? They get interest. They get more out of you than the points. So they give you a 27%
Exactly.
interest rate, and then you only get like what, a free air flight.
You're
Wow.
right.
That's gonna
A
have a
free air
zillion
flight that you have
blackout
to use.
dates, and you gotta fly standby, and yeah, cut that mess out. Get out of here with
And
that.
free flight that you still have to use their card to book.
Right.
Yes.
Get out of here.
Or get points back on your groceries. Really? So I'm paying triple for my groceries. Triple. But I wouldn't hold you guys much longer, but this is basically what we are here for, to empower, enlighten, and open the eyes of our audience, especially within the Legacy family. So I thank you guys for coming out tonight and watching it. We will be doing a rebroadcast of this probably after the Legacy Conference, maybe on a Sunday evening or some other time. We don't know yet. We will discuss it with the board members and the event staff on a next date to showcase. Tomorrow night is something similar to what we've seen tonight. It is the state of generational wealth. It's a discussion with a few individuals hashing out tough questions when it comes to generational wealth in our community, in our culture, and also as a nation. We're not only talking about Black generational wealth, we're just talking across the board, but we will be hitting on some of these topics you heard tonight in Generation One. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow at 7 o'clock. It will be aired on Facebook Live, Zoom, and also in the event app and website. For those who don't know how to get to the website, to the app, if you go to the app, click on agenda, and from there you will see the event taking place. Hit on live stream, and you are good to go. But also check us on Facebook, my personal page, and also Legacy Lives Here. Have a wonderful evening. Any further
Oh, and
comments?
before we go, everybody, please don't forget to be with us on Friday night. We're going to have an amazing event on Friday night where we are going to be celebrating and awarding our amazing Legacy Builder Awards. We want you to participate in that and help us to celebrate those individuals who have embraced the call to leave a legacy for generations to come. There's going to be so much exciting information happening here on the Legacy Lives Here conference. We are so excited to be able to present this to you, and we're looking forward to having your full participation. So don't forget, guys, Friday night is our award ceremony, and then of course our Legacy Conference is going to continue through Saturday. This is Legacy Week. We are creating a legacy for generations to come. We'll see you this week.
And Lawanda is the voice and the MC of the Legacy Conference. So there you go. So have a wonderful evening. Take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Really, Fisha?